Welcome back to the Meridian Pursuit Builders Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Sampley, and this is where we sit down with home builders, developers, real estate professionals, and industry leaders who are out there doing the work. You'll hear real conversations about markets, design, mistakes and lessons learned, and how builders can position themselves in a way that brings more customers to the table. Let's dive in.
I appreciate you having me on. Fair warning, this is my first podcast actually talking to a random individual, so this is pretty fun and cool for me. I'm in the real estate game doing new development now. I'm still very new, so I'm curious to kind of see maybe your standpoint, how many different people you interview, because I kind of have like that new, fresh mind of only been in, I guess, for right at a year and a half. So that's I have this new perspective of trying to leave the W-2 world, jump full head into this. So it's been fun. My background is I'm an engineer. I went to the University of Texas at Austin, got my civil engineering degree. Grew up doing construction. I was always building, remodeling with my dad or doing odd jobs like that. And so kind of went to college and chose probably the most construction kind of degree I could probably think of at the time. Been doing that for the last 6 years. Worked for a big general contractor here. It's like a top 20 GC here in the United States. So kind of been involved in the industry for a while. And yeah, now just really trying to dive headfirst into real estate, doing my own thing. It started off in the multifamily space. Really didn't have any luck. My current business partners, how we met, was in this multifamily mastermind. They had some luck, a couple years younger than me. They own like a 20-unit apartment complex and everything else. They got in the game, but they saw me about a year ago have some success with this new development game, and they kind of saw where multifamily was going. They kind of saw where single family, multifamily, new development from the ground up was going, and they kind of decided to hop on with me, and now we have a little team now of 3 of us, and we're trying to turn and burn now going forward. We're under contract, or we're under construction currently on our first big deal together, and we hopefully are going to have a couple more under contract here this month. We have a couple promising things going on. So at high level, where I kind of started and where we're headed, sort of.
And for the listeners out there, what city are you working in right now?
Yeah, we're in Dallas, Texas.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about the Dallas, Texas market today with everything going on.
I will say it's booming still. I will say I feel very lucky and blessed to be in Texas for one, and Dallas secondly for real estate. Because of course, I'm kind of the pessimist of the group sometimes. I'm on YouTube every day at the gym listening to all these doomsday guys saying how 2008's on its way, prices are too high, too much inventory, everything else. So I will say, I think out of all the places in the country, I think Dallas is one of the better spots, luckily. I think we're okay for now, but you never know what's going to happen, I guess. But we're here to ride it out.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is it's different in every single market. And, you can I was talking to some guys in Canada over on the Ontario side. Even though they're in a really small community, they're custom home builders, but was booming within just that one little community just because of what level of homes that they were building, which were people's second, third residence, multi-million-dollar waterfront cottages, really cool. But it's different at every level depending on who your customer is too. If it's a rental, if it's custom home builder, if these production type homes to where you're looking for small families, it's just real different. I feel like on social media, it's like the state, they kind of do a 30,000 foot level of
Right.
Texas or Utah seeing this, but it really gets down to those really small areas just to see who is your person that you're working with. Another thing, I'm a massive optimist. So I also see things from just, hey, you don't really need that many people either. You just kind of have to put yourself out there and get the right type of attention and be seen by the right person too, and have those people aware of what you're doing, because
Exactly.
and there's so much opportunity. Texas is a great state. People are always have eyeballs on Texas. I'm over here in Florida.
Oh, nice.
I feel like a similar market, just in the sense that people are thinking about our states a lot, and
Yeah. I was gonna say, well, yeah, going on that, obviously, Texas and Florida, I would say, are the 2 probably most business-friendly states there are. Texas, again, specifically, I went to college in Austin, now I'm in Dallas, the 2 probably most booming cities in Texas. There's just so much new business coming here, obviously a lot of California people moving here, and you have new things in Dallas, like I don't know if you've heard, like the Texas Stock Exchange is coming in the next couple of years. We have all these new, I think Goldman Sachs is about to open up like $1 billion campus smack downtown. I live 5 minutes outside downtown. So yeah, so many new people here. And I read something on on the internet just a couple of days ago that Dallas is this is one of the highest markets with the most new people moving to it like on a daily basis. So, like I said, it could be worse. There are a lot of other cities in the country that I would probably really struggle to do new development, but I think right now we're having some fun.
Yeah. Now you said you're new to the game. What have you found is already kind of working, not working as you're kind of getting settled as far as, how you're presenting yourself? I looked you up. You've got a big presence on Instagram. Was that intentional? Tell me a little bit about kind of why you're doing the things you're doing now just to get more
Well,
attention in the marketplace.
yeah, so I mean, when it comes to social media, none of that was truly intentional. Don't get me wrong. I do find I'm one of those guys. I do find power in social media. I do think having a large following brings people like you to my page. Here we are now talking. There's I've had investors kind of slide in or text me on the side asking if they can invest. So I do think that while social media is not really my main focus, obviously my main focus is to build and make money and hopefully really do this full time eventually. That is now becoming part of my focus just because I think that one video you saw of me, it's kind of blown up. Been kind of cool. I've got like 1,000 followers. For me, that's pretty big. And so, yeah, I do think that's definitely a strategy. And my business partner, his name's Caleb. He's big into social media. He also believes in the building a brand, building a reputation, everything else. And so he on the side is also trying to build his page out and together. No, I think we're having a lot of luck with people. Right now we're raising 100,000 for a new deal that we're trying to lock down. And just 2 days ago, we made a few phone calls, and I think we had about half of that money committed pretty quickly. And it's like, okay, this is not as hard as what we're thinking.
What are you hearing on the other side? Like, why are they committing so fast?
Truthfully, one is people seeing what we're doing. So the point you just made, people are now seeing we're not just doing stuff in the dark, trying to now go out to Joe Schmo and ask for $500,000. And he's like, well, what have you done? Well, it's like, no, they're seeing us on Facebook, they're seeing us on social media. And on top of that, I think we have over the last year built a decent enough brand and really made it a bigger effort to, cold text, a lot of our network, our friends and family or guys we work with and say, hey, we're looking at deals. We don't have one for you right now, but I want to see if you're interested in investing this or that. And of course, that follow-up game and kind of just building that rapport with these people has played dividends. The idea is hopefully here pretty soon we can raise 2 to 5 million pretty easily. Probably the next 12-month to 24-month goal for us. It's that way we can get into bigger projects and bigger deals. But right now we're happy. We're happy with a couple hundred grand here or there.
There you go. Well, it sounds like the nurturing these people along the way is really helpful. And that's where I think a lot of people miss is you put a lot of energy and effort into something and then it kind of fades over time and it's just like, all right, and then do another burst and then it fades over time. But when you're able to have that consistent nurture, even if that's a text message that goes out to these people every once in a while, an email, social media is a very organic, natural way of just keeping up people up to date, posting to your story. More that you're doing that, it's not even an engagement thing, especially like with
Right.
where you're seeing success is I don't even need you to do anything. You don't need to like my videos. All I need you to do is be reminded that hey, we're out, we exist, we're doing stuff, we're active, and people are seeing now it's kind of another version of referral too. People are getting you're getting referrals from people that don't know you from Adam, but they feel like they know you just from social
Right.
media and the stuff that you're putting out there. And it's a little creepy sometimes.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely creepy. Some of the DMs I've gotten lately, just people that are across the country, they want me to look at their deals in Wisconsin. And I'm like, man, I can tell you Dallas pretty well, but Wisconsin, I'm sorry, I don't have much help for you at the moment. To the point you just made, Jesse, getting it out there and just having that presence is one thing, but the older I've gotten, I've been telling everyone this, I've been trying to get my partners on board as well, is like just being better salesmen. And I don't want to be like a car salesman, but just being able to sell yourself, sell your brand, sell the product you're doing, I think is such a key. And I wish a part of me wishes 5, 10 years ago I would have made that jump into an actual sales career because some of my friends who are doing the best in their careers are doing some kind of sales job. It's not necessarily the engineers anymore like maybe it was 20 years ago. So, and I find that same thing going on with us doing new development or trying to buy apartments or trying to buy land. It's obviously, you have to have that charisma and that confidence to be able to speak in a way that people want to do business with you. They want to trust you. They want to be involved in what you're doing. The same thing with like me being the builder slash developer of these projects. I'm out here talking to the subcontractors. I'm out here talking to the suppliers. And I'll tell you, every single thing is a negotiation. I don't ever just accept that first price that they give me. So being able to go back and forth and kind of come to that common ground of what's a fair price is huge and it saves you thousands of dollars in the end,
Yeah.
tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. How old are you?
29.
29. Okay. So I'm 30. We're roughly the same age. So I feel like younger people like us, we have a different relationship with sales than some of the older people that are out there. And I think that there's an understanding that sales is service. Like you said, car salesman, you think there's this like image of, oh, I'm trying to sell you something that I don't believe in, that I'm just trying to push because I have to, versus the other mindset, which is, no, my sales is my service. It is doing you a service. This is a benefit. I'm seeing a position in the market space and I'm going to fill that position. And sales is what takes that there. But it's a little bit of a different mindset. And I think that's easier for the content you produce and put out there, the conversations, the confidence that you have, because it's not scammy whatsoever. It is, what I have is legit. It's fixing a problem. It's more of a supply and demand awareness rather than it is just basic sales because I have to meet my quota. And I think that's
Exactly.
a fun place to be in as a business owner too, because you just get to talk about what you're excited about and what is helping people.
Exactly. Yeah, and like kind of back to even my normal W-2 job. Like I said, I'm in construction there. We're building, multi-hundred-million-dollar developments and stuff like that. So I've always been exposed to it. I've always known how the game works, the tech, the tactics of going with these guys. But of course, it's not my money, it's not my deal on the line. The sales aspect is something that has had to come with my own business that I'm running. Whereas when you're working for a billion-dollar company, you're not there to haggle and negotiate as much, or at least that's not my role. That's the bosses who've been with the company for 40 years. That's their role to try and get those prices down. So it's been fun to really do this deal on our own now.
What are some tactics that you found from having that W-2 job? What are some things that you gleaned that now you're using in the everyday?
How to project manage it. Started as an engineer, working my way up to doing all the financials, budgets, and all that kind of stuff. And obviously, no matter what company you're working with, you're having to manage 5, 10, sometimes 20 different subcontractors and making sure that you're QAing their work, making sure that they're showing up on time. And if they're not, you gotta, rally the troops to get them there or finish the job. So yeah, I'd say I take a lot of pride in like the financials and really just making sure the numbers work. Obviously I'm not trying to buy a bad deal. I'm trying to make money at the end. I keep a pretty tight budget. I know exactly basically where every penny has been spent so far. And so that's the nice thing about us being smaller now because we're kind of setting that foundation. Obviously the immediate goal in the next couple years or even a year is hire a superintendent or a PM once we have, 15, 20 builds that are ready to go. At that point, we're going to have to get an accounting team to really make sure those numbers are tight. But right now, that's the big thing that I think I offer is the processes, the systems, the software is how to really make sure that we're staying on track and on schedule and on budget mainly to make sure that we're successful in the end. So that's what I've really taken from it.
What are some of those systems and softwares that you're using that you're seeing work real well?
Yeah, right now my main software is called Rehab Valuator. Not trying to promote them at all, but I will say it's been a good system here. It's one of the cheaper softwares. I think it's like 7,500 bucks a month, so it's still pretty affordable for most builders. And it's a good way to have your budgets, have a pro forma, project out what you want. You can input your actual expenses, so now you're tracking against your budget. It has a decent scheduling tool, so we can really schedule out when things should be happening. Although I will say for single family builds, which is what we're primarily focused on right now, it doesn't take a whole lot of scheduling to keep it on track. It's not that hard of a product to build. But, obviously whenever we're going to build multifamily apartments here in the coming, hopefully 6 months or so, then all of a sudden that becomes a lot more important. So yeah, Rehab Valuator is a software that I've leaned on mainly right now, and it's worked out well for me.
Now, do you guys have a formal entity that all of this is under with your other two
Yeah,
partners?
absolutely. So I've done a couple builds just myself where I was the sole owner. I brought the cash, I built everything else. Obviously, that's my LLC, but we have an overall LLC right now with the three of us, and that's where we're buying our stuff. And yeah, going from there. Obviously, they have other deals. Like I said, they own a 20 unit apartment complex. That's just them too. So yeah, we're just creating LLCs left and right.
Yeah, keep it protected. That's good. That's smart.
Yeah.
And then on a branding side, is this more of just personal brand bringing people to the table, or do you have establishing a brand to bring these investors and have a place where they're able to look at, different portfolios or things that are in the pipeline for later on?
Yeah, I'm not where I wanna be when it comes to branding, and this is 100% on me. I've been focused more on finding the deals, but something I need to make time for is, yeah, I need to get that full professional website. Obviously, I told you I'm trying to grow that Instagram following so that way that my brand is out there. So that's all part of the coming month. It's part of my 2026 goals is to get all that going as soon as possible. Because 'cause you're right, I also want to really branch out, start doing more like commercial remodeling as well, because to have that quick cash flow. Because I'm not sure how involved you are in development, but obviously these development games they're just the big lump sums at the end, and we're the last ones to get paid.
Yeah.
If I have 50 new builds going on, then sure, that we're probably coming in a couple of months just like cash flow, but right now that's not where we're at. So getting into more commercial remodels or more commercial just contract work, that's really what I want to start promoting as well. So that way I can have that those active jobs, that active cash flow. And then every once in a while when I get these new developments to close, well now I got a nice big bonus hit my account. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the idea.
And you also can keep your subs busy with some of that stuff so that they're not going out and looking for other work, because that's another struggle of it is you're heavily reliant on the subcontractors. Tell me a little bit about that relationship. How are you finding good people? How are you keeping the good people? And how are you
Oh
getting
man.
rid of the bad people?
Man, good thing you and me didn't talk a month ago because I would have gone on a very long tangent of upsetness. But yeah, the obviously that's the key is finding good subs. I have a lot of good subs. My mind goes directly to my plumber. He came in on my first build and he's made me some promises. I was like, yeah, yeah, okay, whatever. Here we are, 3, 4 builds. And he's still my guy. He shows up. He's a great guy. But then you have other people, like I've had a horrible experience with my first plumber. I actually had a fire plumber. Then I met this other guy who I'm now buddies with, and I had a big issue with a painter just on my last build. So it really just comes down from referrals, I would say. A lot of my people I do ask my builder friends, other people who are in real estate, I ask, hey, who are you using? And luckily they're all pretty upfront with me. On top of that, I am a big proponent. I do love doing the old school game of if you see a construction site, just put your shoes on and go walk right up to it and start talking to everyone. And I do that several times a week. So I have a couple of subs I've gotten just from people building in my neighborhood.
My dad was a home builder, and that was his strategy. He's kind of an old school guy. Some of the old school builders that were in his market weren't too friendly to it. So sometimes you kind of had to sneak onto the job, talk to their
Yeah.
subs.
Well, don't get me wrong, big commercial jobs like the company I work for, yeah, that's not allowed. That's just a complete safety hazard. But, these little multifamily sites or these homes, you got guys walking around in socks, no one cares. So you go talk to them and you're good to go.
Yeah, the subs are so important. Are there some things that you're doing to kind of build that rapport with the good people? And even
Yeah.
though you don't have a whole lot of volume right now, but just things that you're doing to show appreciation and kind of just following some of the basic common sense golden rule things.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, obviously, the big thing that they care about is paying them when they want to get paid, and so that comes back down to my project management. You gotta. It's not like I have 400 grand just sitting in my bank account. I have these relationships with the banks where I'm getting draws and everything else. So being able to be on the ball where I know I need to get the money from the bank on this day because I know my plumber is going to be done that day or the day after. I can pay him immediately. I know that's why he loves working with me. He tells me all the time that I pay him basically the day the job is done. That if some of his builders, he waits a month and he's over there trying to haggle and fight them and take them to court and everything else. So that's the main one. Obviously, everyone just wants to get paid. Everyone wants to get screwed that way. The second thing is every once in a while, bring some tacos to the site, sit there and bring a case of beer if you need to, whatever it is, you know how these guys are. So just stuff
Yeah.
like that, building that rapport, hanging out with them. I think that just shows you're not just here to treat them like dirt, and just treating them like an object. And I think that's worked out well for us.
On as far as overseeing their work and who's managing that right now?
That's me. Me and my
That's you.
partners. Yeah. It's on us.
What are some of those KPIs, those real important things that you're looking at as you're trying to balance the budget side, you're trying to balancing the craftsman and the work side? You want to choose a sub that's works within your budget, but you also want, a really, great job on the project. So how do you have that relationship between, finding someone good quality people that also fit your budget because you're having to balance the books?
Right. Yeah, well, it kinda goes back to before we ever buy the deal, we've underwritten it. We know what the build cost should be. So for like that one that you were looking at, it's supposed to be a $1 million build, just build costs or less. And so we, have my full budget lined out, 100 line items. And so obviously I start there and I'm definitely not ever perfect on the budget, but I'm usually pretty close. And then from there, like I said, there's 10 other builds that are the exact same size right down the street. Go to those plumbers, say, hey, what'd you charge for that? And they usually are right in line with what we were projecting. And then of course, if they're not, then back to the sales aspect I said earlier, that's when you see me getting real serious with them. And I'm saying, hey, you want 40? I'll give it to you right now for 30. Can we do it? And more
Yeah.
times than not, they have a business. They're trying to keep the pipeline going. They want to build relationships with us. I want to build it with them. That's how you find that good quality guy because it was referred or you see him building it right in front of you 10 houses down. But then, you're able to get that price, hopefully just without too much haggle. But sometimes you have to haggle and kind of just get what you need to make your project successful as well.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, viewing it from their side too is it's always that's kind of sales 101 is that it's not what I want, it's about what you want too.
What
And
you want,
viewing
yeah.
that is always real helpful because that's just a everybody loves to be communicated when it's in your perspective, not what I'm trying to get out of it.
Exactly, and it kinda like the flip side I always think of, it's, like, right now we're looking for our next deal, and we're looking to hopefully buy, like, 5 to 10 acres so we can do, like, a small subdivision. To the point you just made is I'm gonna have to haggle that seller, but am I willing to pay a little bit more to them because that's now gonna allow me to build 20 to 30 homes, and that's gonna keep me busy for the next year? Yeah, so, like, that's a pro, like, they want my business to do the plumbing job, that way they just have another 2 months of work coming, you know? So, it's all part of, like, the business game that you have to play, and sometimes you pay a little bit more, you pay a little bit less, and it's to keep the ball rolling, keep the momentum going.
What's some of the main competition you have as far as other people, other players in the market, when you're trying to find property like that? What are some of the challenges that you're seeing out there that you're gonna have to overcome this year?
Buying the land at the right price. No, you've heard it, I'm sure. You make your money on the buy side, not on the sell side. Making sure that we're not getting into an overpriced land for what now we have to then build a much lower quality home because it costs less, and then all of a sudden now I can't sell it as much, so that's our biggest struggles as man, we look at 30 to 40 probably land deals a day, and a lot of them are from wholesalers or from real estate agents that are on market, and you're not finding that good deal or not you're definitely not finding great insane deals, and you very rarely find that good deal, and we're kind of of the mindset now that let's just find some good deals and get some base hits, and then obviously sooner or later we'll start getting those triples and home runs, and that's kind of our mindset now, and hopefully we're going under contract today on another deal in a really nice neighborhood here in Dallas to where we're going to make some money, and obviously as a partnership we're splitting it, so individually we're not going to make buku bucks, but it's enough to keep the pipeline going. It's enough to keep people interested like you're going to hopefully be seeing us, and again maybe more deals would come that way, so that's kind of the mentality we're taking right now.
Yeah, there's also a marketing aspect of that too, which is just having something too that you can put out there that brings you more deals and brings you more investors too. You have to have real stuff to show. I wanted to ask you, you touched on it a little bit earlier, but how are you building more of that confidence in investors? What does that process look like as far as these conversations you're having with people? Are these out of town people? If they are out of town, what does some of this collateral look like that maybe you're pitching, or just give me a little bit of an insight on what that looks like?
Yeah, so again, confidence and everything else, that's still a growing thing. It's not like we're a big DR Horton builder that has all this where it's just like, yeah, you want to invest with us. Now it's like, no, like you're obviously taking a little bit of a risk. We're not 40, 50 years old with 20 years of experience, but we're building that confidence by obviously our social media. We're in one of those situations where we've done it now. I'm from the background, and so I'm trying to pitch my background. I pitch the experience we've already gained. And obviously, it's one of those things. If we're building a single family house, we're not building the Taj Mahal. We're building a house that it doesn't take that much brain power. But like I said, man, I do think sales is just one of the biggest skills anyone can have. Because again, I'm to sell myself, or I'm to sell each other. And luckily, my partners, they have started a good sized little construction business themselves. They both recently just quit their full time jobs, so they're going full into it. So having my new construction experience, my background, they're doing some pretty big remodels and commercial jobs as well. So being able to just pitch all that and hopefully getting some people to just believe in us and trust that we're not going to lose our money. We're at least going to give them the returns we promise them is the thing. That's part of it. And then give me another year and we have 5 more deals closed. Then all of a sudden people are going to start really reaching out to us. At least we hope because we've been really proven that we know what we're doing and that we're not losing people's money. And we've never come close to losing anyone's money, but that's what everyone's scared of is, what if you lose my money?
Yeah, there's a lot of optimism for that market that you're in too, and that's probably a good selling point too. Is that you're not really trying to force it, and it's always nice when you've got national news that's kind of spotlighting your area.
Exactly.
What advice would you give to someone that is not really in that hot of a market? What are some of the things that you've heard from investors? What are some of these main things that they like to look at? Obviously, the return is number one, but
Yeah.
secondary to that is they have to trust these people. So how can they build this trust with investors?
Obviously, you need to have the full game plan. I could send you the pitch deck that my partner just put together yesterday for this deal we're raising money for, like I told you about. You obviously want to have your schedule on point. So, for us, it's really appealing because these homes, It's basically a 12-month turnaround, very low risk, have our comps, we have our comparable sales ready to go, and obviously we're trying to buy the deals at a good point. Oh, and we're promising a 20 to 30% return on the money you invest, and essentially 12 months or less is all it is. So, when you have those things ready to go, and you're confident that the deal itself will work out. Obviously, if you're investing, we invest in all of our own deals. That should get you into the door to, if you make 100 phone calls, you might be batting 100, but you might get 10 guys that give you 25K each. And now that's 200K. That's enough to go build a $2 million build like we're doing. And
Yeah.
there you go. You know what I mean? So again, it all comes down to the buying the land or buying the tear down or buying the parcel, whatever you're looking to buy. Anyone, you could be a 12-year-old. If a 12-year-old comes to me and says he locked down this deal at 100K and I know it's really worth 400K, well, I might still invest in the 12-year-old because it's going to be hard to lose. It'll be hard to
Yeah.
lose. So that's kind of the thought process is having your ducks in a row, but obviously just find a good deal so you know the risk is lower.
It's nice to know too, even as you're kind of positioning yourself with kind of being the savvy person that's going out and finding those more hard to find deals, or at least having the energy to going out and finding it, even if it's not a property that's even on the market yet. But you being a little more on the investigating side and just knowing, hey, whatever these people bring to the table, it's going to be good. They may not have something yet, but they're going to, just because of where their mindsets is on a daily basis and what kind of stuff that they're looking for. So that brings a lot of optimism too, because people aren't just going to invest in one deal; they're going to invest in multiple deals. That's kind of what you want, is just this growing group of people that's continually to do stuff with you over time.
Exactly, and to that point, like, my partners, they had an investor when they bought that apartment complex a couple years back. They had one guy, I wanna say he invested 150K into that deal with them. That was a huge win for them, and what do you know, that same guy is now verbally committed to a couple deals with us, and even yesterday, he verbally committed, so it's not official, but he verbally committed 100,000 to this deal we're raising money for, and this is just an old gentleman who has made his money, sold the business, and he likes that we're a couple of young kids who are driven and motivated and finding deals. And he's like, yeah, I'll take 25% return in 12 months. Like, might as well. So to your point, and we've then met some of his friends because of course he now likes us. We've proven that we know what we're doing. So now we've talked to a couple of his 60-year-old friends and now they've shown interest in investing. It's just kind of a snowball game, and that's kind of the beauty. We're starting to hit that point right now, I'd say, but you've always heard like get a couple of deals and it'll just start snowballing. The money will
Yeah,
come, the people will come. We haven't seen the full fruits of our labor yet, but we're starting to see like, okay, we're on the right track and it's definitely starting to be a little bit easier.
what an exciting time! It's nice to have that momentum or feel that momentum behind you.
Yeah.
Just puts an extra pep in your step as you're going along, and I think people can feel that in the conversations that you have, just because you have this momentum behind you. You have this energy that starts attracting people. And it's a little hooey, as far as it's like you can't really put your finger on it, but it's just when you feel like the wind's blowing in your direction, then you start walking a little different, you start talking a little different. And like you said, that confidence goes a really long ways. It's not always just what's on the book, but again, you're also presenting a really nice book that's showing real data.
Right. And that's the thing too, is any investor, real estate guy, or anyone just doing a business, when you're raising capital or you're trying to find a deal, obviously the goal is at the end we're going to make X amount of dollars to make our time worth it. But the main thing is also just making sure that we're protecting the people who invest in us. So like this deal we're raising money for, we feel really confident that we could still sell this home, this really nice home or more, or sell it for 250K less than what we're planning for in our pro forma. And we're still gonna be able to give the investors their original money back plus the return they promised them. And so like there's a lot of, you're taking out a lot of risk and being able to just show those things, I think it makes a difference that yeah, maybe Jake makes $0, but you're Mr. Investor, you're at least gonna get your money back. And I just did it for the love of the game at that point. I wasted a year of my time, but that's just how it goes.
Yeah. Well, tell me a little bit
What are you
about
guys
the
doing? Well, I was gonna say, what are you guys doing there in Florida? What's your real estate back?
So, one, I've got a marketing company that helps home builders and construction people. What we do is we take earnings from our marketing company and then we invest it in short term rentals, and that's kind of the beginning. Everything that we do is all kind of long term play. So it's the cash flow isn't as important for us right now. It's more of, I tell people, check in 30 years where we'll be, because that's kind of where our heads are at, is always 20, 30 years down the road. But we've got some visions to do some sort of a development. I don't know if it's on the horizontal or vertical side or both. My dad being a home builder, I was around a lot of construction and developers, and the development side just always seemed so intriguing. My creative background, I really like selling a vision. I like kind of, putting the vision out there. As far as doing the actual work, I really love for someone else to do the work. And I like that from a development side, it is you kind of preparing everything for a builder to come in and then kind of let it take off. So that side, I think, here in the next 10 years, we'll probably get a little bit closer to that. Right now, being in the soft market that we're in, we're just investing a lot more on the rental side
Nice.
just because you don't know, and it's always a good place to park your money even if it's not the biggest return. It's a safety net there.
Man, I did learn that lesson when 6 months after I got my job, I was new in the workforce. I just put my first 6 months of savings right into a rental property, bought my first one. I didn't know what I was doing. I was over here thinking I was gonna rent out for 3 grand a month. Comps were like 1,800, overpaid for the home, everything else. I did the whole remodel. At the time, I quickly realized I was like, oh crap, I just messed this thing up. I just screwed myself. But to your point, here we are 5, 6, 7 years later. Appreciation's up, the blood note's
Yep.
paid down, I could
Yep.
sell it, profit 6 figures maybe. It all works out, so to your point, if you own 50 rental properties over the next 50 years, you're gonna sell those and it's gonna be a nice retirement fund, so I'm all about
My
it.
my first house that I bought, I was 18 years old, and it was a complete disaster. I mean, it was just a total dump. It was $50,000. It had 14 Chihuahuas that were always lived inside, and I don't think they were ever let outside. There was an old lady that was in there that had passed away. I mean, it was just like everything you can imagine. It was a 1927 home or something. It was
Oh, wow.
basically built like a pole barn, and then it was just crappy renovation on top of crappy renovation. I think it had 11 coats of paint. I mean, it was horrendous. But my very 18-year-old optimistic brain was like, man, I could just see this. I ended up peeling that thing apart. I had a budget for what the reno was going to be, went way over that. I ended up redoing the gas lines, the plumbing, the electrical, all of the insulation, redoing the roof, building the whole front of the house again. I mean, it was not looking good for a while. So I actually decided to live there for a little bit. I was like, I've already put this
Oh,
much
wow.
effort into it. I'm just going to live here for a bit. But then if you hold something long enough, like you're probably going to see a return eventually. And that's when
Yeah.
just right at COVID, our market blew up. I saw an opportunity just like, I don't think this little house is never going to see this value again. So I went ahead and flipped it. And yeah, it was the hardest $100,000 I'd ever made. Took me 2 years to renovate the project because I was doing a lot of it myself. But just looking back, it's like, man, I'm glad that I did not sell it when I did because I probably would have only made, 40% of that. But when
And
there's
that's
a
and and that's the deal that made you at 18 realize you wanted to go into marketing and not do construction.
Exactly. Earlier on, my dad being a home builder was a lot of the free labor. And I was like, I don't think this is going to add up. I don't think $10 an
No.
hour, I don't think I can make any money. So I'd actually went to work at 17. I went to go work for a construction company, and it kind of started the video side of video marketing at the same time. And I told myself, I'm going to give this 90 days. And I told the guy who hired me, I said, he was a friend of mine. I said, I'm going to work for you 90 days, doing this video stuff 90 days. We're going to see which one takes off first. And then that's going to kind of be my life trajectory because construction, kind of sucks. But as time goes on, it seems like it's kind of pulling me back in,
Yeah. It's
and
it's
it's really
lucrative.
exciting
It's
talking to
lucrative.
people like, I talk to these people around the US, and I'm now talking to people all over the world and getting more. I've got my first Australian podcast that I'm doing. So I'm really looking forward to, just having these conversations, and it's inspiring. And I'm seeing a lot of younger people. A lot of people are, they're in their late 20s, mid 30s, and they're doing some really impressive stuff. So it's encouraging to see, and I love it.
Yeah, man, that's awesome, and that's kinda yeah, same thing with us. We surround ourselves I don't know if I mentioned earlier, me and my partners met in this multifamily mastermind community, this guy based out of Austin, Texas. He was, the guy who started the mastermind, he's probably 30 right now, 31, but he was just doing some really big stuff. And so you naturally, entrepreneurs like all of us here on the call, we want to surround ourselves with like-minded people and everything else. And so whenever you see a 20 at the time he was 26 years old, he had owned, I think, 1,000 apartment complexes or 1,000 units, 500 storage units, everything else. It's like, okay, like this is the kind of community you want to surround yourself with. By. So like what you're doing here with these podcasts, it's a great thing because you're networking all across the world, and sooner or later, that's gonna pay dividends, whether it's you wanting to get into a deal with us or you knowing who to invest in or you just knowing who to go to. I mean, that's all gonna be huge, and I'm pretty jealous you get to do all this. I need to do the
It's
same
you know
thing.
it's really fun. Even if I don't make a dime at any of this, I have such a fascination with people, and it's so interesting. Some of that comes from my video production background. We did a lot of high-end video for 10 years. COVID kind of switched things up a little bit, but one of my favorite things was going to factories and shooting the full process. And I've seen everything from milking rubber trees in India to making tires and building engines. And I was just always fascinated with building something, refining it with a process, and then literally like a factory, there's this whole system of things, and that's kind of passed along with everything that we've done. I think that going back to your point a little bit with who you surround yourself with kind of lays out the steps for what you do next, because it's really who you know, not what you know as much. You're the most like the four people you surround yourself with the most. And that's really important. I wish I knew that a lot earlier on, because, after that real estate deal that I did at 18, I went through a phase where I didn't have a lot of high quality people around me. And, you look back and kind of look at life trajectory, there's a bit of a dip just because the entrepreneurial spirit, the kind of that mindset wasn't there. And it was just because of the people that I was with. But if you put yourself around people that are doing more than you should never be the smartest person in the room. A lot of people are so busy that it's hard to do that, but I've heard other builders that are in masterminds, they've said this is the single greatest investment I ever made in myself. Just because of one, what I'm gleaning, but two, there's just something to it when you have a bunch of peers that are always trying to grow towards something. There's just a synergy that's built there.
Well, and just the whole thing, which I think is always been my biggest holdback, is I've always had this entrepreneurial heart and mindset, and I'm still surprised. I'm still working for someone even to this day. I always thought I was gonna not work for anyone, but I've always catch myself maybe having a slight analysis paralysis issue where I can look at deals all day, but then not having the network of the right people to go to help close that deal is the hardest part. Obviously, surround yourself with killers like we did in this mastermind where yeah, they're 26 and they're buying $10 million deals. They're buying four of those a year. Okay, well, why can't I go buy a piece of land? Or at least it's a motivation thing that has definitely helped me kind of grow and just say, if I make $0 on this deal, or at least I built relationships with investors, at least I learned a lot and at least something to show forward on paper. So that's part of the mentality as well.
Yeah. Take me back before as a kid. What are some of the entrepreneurial things that you did as a kid?
Oh man, I was the kid slinging crackers and chips and stuff for $3 a piece. I was the guy going to make my grandma. This is up until probably sixth grade. I was going to buy the 30 pack of cool mechanical pencils and stuff like that. Go sell them for my elementary school, like like the big dollars the teachers give you to go buy stuff at the end of the semester. I'm over here selling them for $10 so that way I can go buy the biggest prize at the end of the semester. So yeah, stuff like that. Always was trying to make money somehow, whether it was negotiating friends to trade me this or trade me that. Unfortunately, in high school, I was always so wrapped up with baseball and like just working to help just pay for my normal high school bills. I never jumped into having a true like lawn business or anything like that, but I wish I would have. But yeah, I've always had that spirit, I feel like, to try and do my own thing, which has been a blessing, I'd say. Some people don't have
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I think you can train it maybe, but a lot of these stories are people just had an inclination to it. It was just like, I don't even know where it came from. I just always had a bit of this drive. And I think some people feel guilty when they don't have it. And I think it's important to know that you don't have to be that person with that drive, but that's where good partnerships maybe come into play. Is maybe you're very process and project driven and the other person's more the visionary. Just knowing your role and how you work well, again, it comes back to networking and being around other people. You don't have to be the person that does everything. That's not for everyone, and it's also not extremely beneficial. There's power
Right.
in numbers and bringing other minds to one project, but the better you know yourself and the better that you know what position that you play well in, then it's easier to see, okay, this person, me and him would work great together. And, here's my weaknesses and here's my strengths. let's go and actually accomplish something. Takes a bit of insight, and looking at yourself and being vulnerable with yourself to say, okay, I may love doing this, but I'm not great at it. So I'm going to bring on someone or I'm going to partner with someone that can kind of fill that role.
There's definitely a lot of ego and just hard-nosed will in my body for sure, and it happens all the time where working with people or others isn't always great. Me and my partners have kind of seen that recently with another situation, and just making sure you align correctly before you truly jump into a marriage with someone else it's a big deal. Just because a deal's at least any deal is usually going to be 8 to 12 months minimum. So you're married to that person for at least that timeline, and you may hate them by the end of it. And ideally, some of these deals are big enough where they're going to be a few years. And if you're not with the right person, and the egos and just the business alignment is not in line, then you're going to struggle. And we've already kind of experienced that, unfortunately.
That is similarly to, a big custom build may take 2 years. And that's a lot of these conversations I've had with guys is, and how do you maintain that relationship? Because that's a really long time. Some romantic relationships don't even last that long.
Yeah.
And you are in a relationship with someone that, you're building their home. It's like it all kind of boils down to just frequent communication, and a really good onboarding to know that person really well. And then your red flags start to get refined over time for who that person is, and to be able to have the confidence to say no when you know that this isn't the right fit. And rather
Okay.
than taking the money and seeing the side of the opportunity, I'm going to see the risk. I'm going to see what it's going to cost me in the long run rather than saying yes just because it's right here in front of me.
Right. And to that point, I'll give an example, and it actually goes back to one of the first things we started this call on is how to mitigate risk in like the current economy. Obviously, everyone knows housing and real estate and everything else is kind of struggling. One of my main strategies and things that has worked for me is overbuilding these homes or overbuilding the product that you want to sell. A lot of people I have these conversations with my partners. It's like obviously the cost, that means you're going to spend more, but the idea is I want to give a product where I want to sell it. The last thing I want to do is I want to sit on this house or this multifamily or this storage unit for 30, 60, 100 days or 200 days, worst case. I'd rather build a slightly nicer product, spend a little bit more, make a little bit less on the back end, but I'm the product that everyone wants to buy whenever they do go see it. And last week, I'm not tooting my own horn, but it happened where I had this build. I just wrapped it up 2 weeks ago. We listed on the market last Saturday. I've had 10 showings. I had two, and it's gone under contract twice. The first one it fell out. Now it's under contract again to sell, and it's 6 days in. Am I gonna make the most I coulda? I have friends who built right down the street, and I think they're good they made more than me, but, hey, in this economy, I'm fine with making a little bit less and just getting it off the books and collecting what I can, and that's a partnership thing where you gotta make sure your partners are also cool with that because that means they're making less money or whatever else, and so it's just you gotta be aligned on all those things, I feel like.
How are you making the decisions for what to build exactly? Where are you getting that insight from?
Yeah, so obviously here in Dallas and Fort Worth at this point. I know a lot of the big builders. I know a lot of them like I won't say they're not deal horn production builders, but they're companies who are building 50 homes in a 1 mile area like in South Dallas, and they build almost the exact same home and they're very successful at it. I know a lot of the big custom home builders who are building the $2 to $4 million homes like we're building right now. And so obviously just looking at the comps, walking with them, I am able to call a lot of these guys and ask who their guys are, who their subs are. They'll be really upfront. They want me to win. I want them to win. But, I do make a point to, does this house have a waterfall island and is it 5 feet wide? Okay, well, cool. I'm gonna do the waterfall island. I'm gonna make my island a little bit bigger. Or like right now, this house we're building, my partners are really convincing me on. I get their point as no homes in this neighborhood have like big surround sound system, all the speakers and all the audio. Well, they're like, hey, Jake, it's worth the $5,000 to like let's get that in here because no one else has it. And so like stuff like that. Obviously, you can look garages. A lot of these homes in this neighborhood have 2-car garage. Well, we're doing a big 3-car garage. And we've actually already had a realtor reach out to us that someone saw our house and they wanted to inquire about because we were one of the only ones that had a 3-car garage. So just kind of doing that market research. You hear everyone in real estate saying, do your research, make sure you're what you need to build, make sure the piece of land you're buying can fit what you want to build. And so that's all just part of the being the developer, which we're trying to be to make sure that we have the game plan before we ever break ground on it.
Yeah, there was a broker that I was talking to in Tampa, and she kinda told a horror story about a builder that was in Miami that came to the Tampa market and built something that was very appropriate if it was in Miami, but it was just very overdone in the Tampa market, ended up
Mm,
having to sell it for way under value than what he had planned, just because his mindset and probably his budget was set for Miami, and it's
yep.
like, "This is a different market." And you're doing things that, yeah, are beautiful, but no one's asking for. So that's a really important aspect of, yes, do things that are going to attract great attention for your home, but also balancing and not doing something that's just no one's asking for and it's going to cost you. Especially, I mean, it's more critical in a slower market, which is not as much of a concern for you. But when it is a slower market, then it's like, yeah, I'm not asking for this. So great that you have this, but I really don't care.
And again, like I said, I'm an engineer, and so I'm a numbers guy. That's fact, and the numbers don't lie. So, you know what your comps are. You can go talk to one realtor, you can talk to five of them. More than likely, they're going to pull the same comps for you. Whatever that price per square foot is, like for example, this house we're hopefully going under contract under today in this nice neighborhood in Dallas is we know the comps are selling between 400 and $440 a foot, and we see exactly what the photos are. We know exactly what it needs to hold, so now it's up to us, how do we want to play? Do we some of the comps do have a swimming pool? Okay, well, do we want to risk the swimming pool or do we build our house bigger than everyone else so that way maybe someone gets a bigger house? So those are the things. But no matter what, we all know I'm not going to sell this house for $500 a foot. So whatever I build, we have to build it correctly. We have to build it for the budget to still be able to make money at the 400 to $440 a foot. And obviously, as an underwriter or developer, my goal is, all right, we're selling at the low end, we're selling at 400. So again, like me as the developer, we know how big the pool need, or we know it has a pool. So the idea is, do we build the bigger house or whatever it may be, or add all these cool features? But me as the developer, I'm looking at worst case scenario. I'm saying, all right, we're going to sell this thing at the low end at $400 a foot. Well, whether I build a pool, I build a bigger house, or whatever it might be, I need to make sure that I can still make money at $400 a foot, or at the very least, back to what we talked about earlier, if I make nothing, that's whatever. That's a horrible situation, but at least I'm giving my investors their money and the return that we promised them. So that's kind of the game that you have to play is the numbers don't lie and the facts don't lie. What's sold, sold, and it's sold for
Yeah.
that dollar amount, and you need to just make sure that you're sticking by it. And that goes with multifamily too. Like I said, when we were looking at buying multifamily a couple years back, same thing. Does this complex have the amenities? Does it have a pool? Does it have the fitness center? Is it 2-story, 3-story? Is it old? All that. And it's not like you're going to sell a 1960s product for the same thing you're going to sell a 2010 product. So it's like you have to just be realistic and not do what your Miami investor did and assume that.
Exactly. Do you do anything to where it prepares something in the build prepares for something that a buyer would want to put in? So, for instance, it's like, hey, this is already pre-plumbed for a pool that you can put in the background. But some things where it's kind of just to be able to fit your budget within that price per square foot, but you're still able on a selling piece and a marketing side, kind of be able to cast that vision and to say, even though this home doesn't have these XYZ features, it's pre-planned for that. So
Yeah, absolutely. No, the one we're building right now that you saw my video on is we just added a movie room. That wasn't part of our original plans, but we were able to add it in. We're not going to add all the projectors and everything else, but we're going to have the electrical wiring in the middle of the ceiling.
yeah,
So that way, yeah, they can go pick out their however expensive projector they want. They can just screw it right in the ceiling and be ready for it, or vice versa. We're not going to put a pull in that one either, but we're going to have the plumbing lines and everything. And, we planned it to where if they want to add the pool, it's not going to be a major upbringing to get water to the pool. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
yeah, to your point, that's definitely part of the thought process, and hopefully it works out for
Are
us.
you guys selling any of your own homes or you're going through real estate companies?
Yeah, no, we're going through realtors. Don't get me wrong, that I get asked this all the time. I can talk, I can kind of go back and forth. Everyone's like, dude, why don't you just sell these houses? Well, my thought is do what you're good at. I've never sold a home. I don't have the social media following. I truly believe that realtors, my realtor, if he ever sees this, he'll probably laugh, but he's got 100,000 plus followers on Instagram. Plus, I know him and he's a go-getter, and so that's part of why I chose him. And what do you know? That house I just got under contract twice in 6 days had 200,000 views, 10 showings in
Wow.
like the first 4 days. Boom, we're under contract, full asking price in this market. So it's like there's value in that. Whereas me, I post it, my couple thousand followers, I mean, the odds are slim that anyone's ever even gonna see it.
You need
Choose
to
what you're
share
good
you
at.
need to share his contact because I want to have him on the show too. That would be an interesting aspect to just kind of to finish it. I love realtors. A lot of my friends growing up were they grew up to be realtors. It's such an attention game for me on a marketing side. It is how are you doing this? How you're positioning yourself, especially in a large market, to where
Yeah,
you flip a quarter and you lift. Someone told me you flip a quarter and then you what do you find underneath? You find seven real estate agents, depending on the area. It's so saturated. So it's really cool to see the ones that are winning, to see, hey, what are your
yeah.
strategies? How are you trying to garnish this attention?
And again, part of the reason why I chose him is because I've seen him on social media for the last few years, and the dude's a beast. I think in 2025, he posted he had 95 closings. How many realtors close 95 homes in a year? Like not very many. And on top of him just being a complete psychopath, and he works till midnight every night. He doesn't mess around.
Love it.
He doesn't party. I don't think he has a girlfriend. He's focused fully on his career, and all that other stuff will come. But that's part of it. So focus on what you're good at. He's not trying to be a builder. He's not trying to be a developer. He's just trying to be a good real estate agent. So I'm trying to do the same thing with developing.
I love it. Just because you can doesn't mean that you should, but do rock and roll with what you're really good at and what you love. And like you said, those are strategic partnerships. Could I make a little
Yeah.
more money? Yeah, maybe, but there's going to be a handoff because it's going to come with other issues that as a successful business person, yes, I'm going to solve that. I'm going to have to. So I also have to know that is if I get into this, there's going to be issues and I'm going to have to solve those. And that's going to take away time or it's going to take away capital from what I'm doing currently. And is it
Yeah.
worth the risk?
Yeah, and real quick, that's what I was gonna say. I want to touch on that real quick is I'm minimizing the risk. Obviously, if I was to sell this $2 million house that I've never sold before, there's a whole lot of risk to me and my investors because that's never happened before. My agent who sold this other one for me, or we're on a contract on, is I paid him the full 6%. A lot of my friends have told me I'm crazy. Like, Jake, why didn't you try and get him down to 4 or 5%? Well, my answer now is in hindsight, this is exactly what I was hoping for. Yeah, I'll pay the agent 6% all day, three to him, three to the buying agent. And if it's under contract and sold within 30 days from the time I listed it, I don't care. That my risk is gone and we're moving on. So that's one of those things I'm willing to pay to overbuild the house a little bit. So hopefully my product is why it was so easy for him to sell, but also have the right guy selling it. So those two things has shown that I think that's a way to beat this down economy, and that's what we're sticking with.
And now you've built a rapport with the guy to where if a deal came to where you really needed that extra 2% or something, it's like, man, you did me so solid over the past. Yeah, of course.
Exactly.
They're able to work with you. That when I was doing a lot of video production years ago, there was a guy that treated me. I was the contractor on the job, and he treated me that same way. He didn't negotiate pricing. He paid exactly what we were asking for, and that began a really great relationship with that person. And when he came to us with other projects, where he said, "Man, I just don't have the budget for this," I was like, "Man, I'll work with you, whatever, because you've done me so well in the past that now it's credited to you.
Exactly.
You've kind of paid it forward because now you've already built this trust." Thought that was a really powerful thing because yeah, people say that is why didn't you get that person to the bare bones? It's like, well, sometimes it's not worth that on a relationship side because if people are
It's
asking
not.
for it, not everyone's asking for you to negotiate with it. That's not every single person. Can you? Yeah, probably. Everything in life's negotiable. But to your point, know your end goal. And sometimes it's not worth that 2% because you're trying to accomplish something.
Just minimize the risk, get out of the deals, and just try and keep that momentum and snowball effect going. That's what it comes down to. So yeah, I agree with you, Jesse.
Yeah. Well, man, this has been an awesome conversation. How can people learn more about what you're doing in the Dallas market?
Yeah, so I think Instagram right now is the best way to find me, just at Jake Rodriguez 22. Trying to put out more content there. Like I said, website's coming. So hopefully maybe you may do another podcast in the next 12 months and we'll have all of that to share and have the LinkedIn and well, I have LinkedIn, but I mean the TikToks and everything else I can share. But right now let's just do Instagram.
There we go. Well, man, thank you so much. We'll see you later on down the road, and we'll check in, and it'll be cool. If I'm in the Dallas market, I'll have to look you up.
Hit me up, brother. All right, man. It was a pleasure. We'll see you later.
All right, sounds good.
See ya.
All right, that's a wrap for this conversation. If you know someone who should be on this podcast, send us an email at info@meridianpursuit.com and nominate them. We're always looking for great stories to share. And if you got something out of this episode, please leave us a quick review on the show. And if you're watching on YouTube, tap like and subscribe so we can share this with more people. I'm Jesse Sampley. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the next one.